What's up, everybody? Today I am here with Austin Reed again. How you doing, Austin?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jack?
I'm doing really well. I just woke up. This is
That's good.
my favorite thing is to do Skype calls at 10 because that means that I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna wake up at 9, and then I set an alarm for like 9:45, and then I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, all right, and then I'm up and ready. And normally the Skype call, Skype calls take a surprising amount of energy, especially when they're about an hour. So normally it's best when it's like fresh early in the morning, And then by the end of it, then I'm ready to do whatever it is I'm gonna do. In today's case, that's record like 10 videos. So
wow, that's a lot of videos for a day, bro.
yeah, that's because I haven't recorded much in the past couple days. I've only
Right.
been recording Skype conversations recently, but
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Nice.
yeah. And so today we are going to be talking about our beginnings. So I guess that how did you first hear about dropshipping?
I actually first heard about dropshipping in 2012. Back then, it wasn't really like a full-time thing for me. I just kind of like tried to do it, and I didn't really try. I just kind of posted a couple things because I was a little bit younger, and it didn't really work out well. But I decided to pick it back up again in around 2014, and then I made a couple sales, and it was just kind of like a side income for me. I was still like working the job, and then started going to school and doing all that stuff. And then
Yeah,
right around the time when I finished school, I opened my business, and I actually used to sell things in person on Facebook groups. So I used to like flip laptops and stuff like that. And I made that my full-time income. And then I was like thinking to myself, well, hey, what if I could just sit at home and not have to go meet people and sell them things in person? So, you know,
yeah,
exactly. So basically, I started doing the drop shipping thing, and I was like, well, I have bills now, and I have to make this work. So I took it more seriously. I posted more items, and eventually, I actually started doing really well. Surprisingly, especially considering that the market definitely was changed around 2016 compared to what it was in 2012. I feel like if I gave it more energy in 2012, I would definitely be a lot further right now. But
probably.
things happen and whatever, and then so I just started doing it, and it took me about like I don't know, about 4 or 5 months, and I got my first VA and started doing that. And then I went through a bunch of VAs because I didn't really know how to train people yet.
Yeah,
I didn't really know how to hire people. I'd never really done that before. So I started going through the VAs and stuff, and eventually I got to where I am now. It's where like, I've got a team of VAs. eBay does what it does, and I can work on it if I want to, but I don't really have to. I just kind of
yeah,
travel
yeah.
and do whatever, so works out pretty well.
That's pretty awesome. So why do you think it is that you weren't so interested in drop shipping at first, but then later on that changed?
Uh, Partly because my living was paid for at that time, so I didn't really have to worry about bills as much. The other
So
reason
there wasn't a
is
sense of urgency.
no, there wasn't a sense of urgency, and back then I was really into music. I'm super really into music now. That's actually what I want to do for a living, but I wasn't into business yet, right? So
Gotcha.
yeah, everything I was focusing on was practicing music, and it wasn't until a little bit later that I realized, well, musicians go broke on tour. They don't really have an income, and so if I want to survive in the music world, I need to figure out something that I can travel and do, and even if I'm not making money in my music, I can still go play and not have to worry about my bills as much. And so
Yeah,
it kind of was that. It was a combination of that, and it was also a combination of me working my first couple jobs, and I was just sick of going to school full time and working full time on top of it. It was just a little bit too much for me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really cut out to be an employee. I don't really want to do that.
hmm
So it was just a combination of all of those things, man.
yeah, that makes sense. I think that's something probably a lot of people relate to, not wanting to be an employee.
Oh, exactly. My first job was actually being a janitor too, and that job
Uh-huh.
completely sucked. It was horrible. And then I was a landscaper, and then I worked at a call center, and the call center one, it paid pretty well, but it was like super stressful. It
Yeah,
was like
that makes
really
sense.
stressful. So
It's
what
funny
about
'cause
you?
I'm in Nicaragua now, right? And there's a lot
Yeah.
of English call centers here, and so I ride the buses, and there are some times that I'll hear employees just get off of their job at the call center, and then they're like bitching to each other in English because obviously most people speak Spanish. But it's just funny hearing people bitch about customers being irate in a bus in Nicaragua.
Dude, they get so bad though, some of those customers. Oh my God. They have like no self-control at all over the phone. Like at all.
They just don't care. They don't view who they're talking to as someone with feelings. So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. So hey man, what about you? How'd you get started?
I was originally, I used to be really sick, and I thought I was going to be sick for the rest of my life. I had really, really big problems with fatigue. I wasn't able to make it through a day like most people are. I had to rest a lot. And I was really prone to crashing and headaches and a lot of. There was a balance that was very delicate, let's say. Um, So I had to face that I could not work a normal job and I had to figure out how to earn money from home. And that's something I've been interested in for a while anyway. So, but honestly, the sickness really is what was like, okay, I don't have a choice. I have to figure something out or else my life is going to be miserable. Um, so then I started getting into eBay because I had no idea what dropshipping was. And I was like, well, eBay's something I can do from home. I can sell stuff. And I want to develop video games. So I started selling Nintendo products on eBay. And I would get them off Craigslist and sell like Nintendo 64 games, NES games, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
my friends would, I had like no money at the time. And my friends would buy I would convince them to invest in me by buying Nintendo products from Craigslist when I would find good deals, and then I'd give them the money back when I sold everything. And so my friends put in like $800, and that enabled me to do a lot. And then I paid them back and everything. But I got some really good friends. It was definitely pretty awesome. But so I did that for like a year, and I didn't really make much money off of it, but it was definitely like that's when I grew the eBay account more, and I started getting into commission sales. So that's when somebody gives you something and you sell it, and then you give them the money instead of buying it from them and then selling it. I was working with a guy who did Storage Wars. Not sure if you've ever seen that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Storage Wars is when like in the States, something like two-thirds of all people have a storage lot or some crazy, or two-thirds of all house owners have a storage lot, something like that. So when people default or they die or they forget to make their payments, their stuff just gets auctioned away. So I would go with this guy to buy storage lots, and then he would give me stuff that he finds in those lots to sell on eBay, and I would sell them, and then I'd get to keep half of the money, which was a really, really good setup. So I did that for a while. Came across a whole bunch of like weird shit, like old dentistry equipment and just
Wow.
tons and tons of stuff, servers, other computer stuff, lots of cool games. So then the other thing I started doing was selling Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh, I
'Cause they
remember that
have,
game.
yeah, and there are some really valuable Magic the Gathering cards. And my friend knew this guy who was like trying to get rid of his collection, and he had like 29,000 cards. So he gave me all of his valuable cards, and it was a pile like this big. And I sold all of those for about $4,000 individually. So that racked up like 300 or 400 feedback on my eBay account. Nothing I did got me as much feedback as that did. But so after that, a friend of mine sent me a link to a course. It was about like how to sell stuff on how I sold like $100,000 on eBay with no inventory, or whatever David Blue's course used to be called. And so then I took that dropshipping course, and then I was like, wait, you can sell stuff without having to find it, without having to clean it, without having to package it, without having to make photos. It's everything I'm already doing, except minus like 70% of the work. So I was full into it. Um, and I started manually posting items like David Blue does, or the way that course teaches. And I did that for like 7 or 8 months. And then I was making a little bit of money, but it just wasn't like I wasn't. It was really tedious, you know, like manually posting items. And so I ended up. That's when I first started doing the bulk work. Was because I had a feeling that if I could figure out a way to be even a little bit profitable, but in a way that doesn't consume much time, then that can scale very well because your eBay account limits scale exponentially, right? So if you can match a portion of your income to your eBay account limit, then your income is determined by your eBay account limit. And that's like the
Yeah.
premise in bulk. The insertion fees are a big deal, but now in 2 months, less than 2 months, insertion fees are going to be half as expensive for bulk, so it's looking good. But yeah, that's how I got into dropshipping, and that was like I think I've been dropshipping for like 2 years now.